Somewhere, a soldier patrols the streets of a shattered city. His mind is not preoccupied with turkey, or with mistletoe, or with eggnog, or with candles, or with lights on the tree. Every sense is heightened. Every nerve on edge. Will it be a roadside bomb? Will there be a suicide bomber? Will there be a sniper around the corner? Celebration is the farthest thing from his mind. Survival is the all-consuming thought. So this is Christmas. A hungry child shivers in the cold, waiting for a soup kitchen to open so that they might have Christmas Eve meal together, along with his sister and mother. It's a reprieve from the usual goings-on. For one moment, warmth and food will intoxicate the senses, but tomorrow it'll be back to the trash cans, back to the cardboard boxes, back to the park. When will they ever stop wandering from town to town? When will mom find a good job so that they can move beyond scratching out a meager existence? So this is Christmas. Now we are ready. But how do we pay for everything? We charged and borrowed to buy Christmas this year, only to receive a termination letter, a notice just 2 days before the holiday. Where do we find a new job? How do we meet our financial obligations? So this is Christmas. Do cancer and caroling go hand in hand? How does a broken body sing "'Tis the season to be jolly"? When fear and sickness sweep over you in waves, where do you find the voice to sing "fa la 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 la"? So this is Christmas. Fire and earthquake and tidal wave and flood and drought and blizzard. Accidents. The timing of tragedy is never kind. Death in every sense catches humanity unaware. Injuries and inconveniences alter our lives at the drop of a hat. Even at Christmas. A Roman decree sends families scurrying back to their homes, their ancestral cities to register. Enrollment means taxes. And as we all know, taxation without representation is galling. It is oppression and tyranny. The families who go back to their ancestral homes to register know that they are an oppressed people that are going to be forced to pay and live in a way that is going to push them to the edge. Can anybody say Egypt all over again? So this is Christmas. Forgive me, but we really need to hear just how profound this night actually is. Our candlelight vigil tonight has been held many times this year, in many places all over the world, expressing prayerful hope for a recovered child, for a call for peace, or a and shines to reveal and to uncover and to show the way life truly is, as well as the way to a new life with God. For tonight, we celebrate God with us. There are three things tonight, three simple statements I really want you to remember. When the light shines in the darkness and reveals the truth about Christmas, the truth about the world in which we live and the struggles which we have represented in this very room, that light also reveals to us a new way, a new life with God. The first thing I want us to hear is a simple statement. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. That phrase is used multiple times in the Christmas account. Do not be afraid. But isn't it true that we are afraid? I'm afraid and you are afraid. We are afraid from the time we wake up in the morning to the time we go to bed at night. We are struck with fear. Fear of death, fear of losing our job, fear of both the little things and the big things. And yet the antidote to our fears, all of our fears, is found in the coming of Christ. It is found in the coming of God made flesh in the world. If you recall the very first words that Adam speaks to God, when God appears in the garden after the fall, Adam says, I was afraid. But the very first words we hear at the birth of Jesus are just the opposite. Do not be afraid. The second thing is, we can trust God because we can know God. St. Augustine, the Bishop of Hippo, was contemplating the same point when he was walking along the seashore. He saw a little boy who had a shell, and the boy would run to the ocean, scoop up some water, run up on the beach, and dump it into a sand pit. And Augustine knew, after some thought, this boy is impossible for him to scoop up the ocean and to fill this sand pit. However, it is possible for him to know the ocean by scooping it up. God came down into our weakness and into our midst and into our confusion and into our inadequacy and into our chaos so that we may know Him. And the third thing, God brings peace and hope into our midst. Frederick Buechner tells a story about his ride on a British freighter. He goes on to say that they were in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and the officer was peering over the front of the ship and looking for light in the distance. He said to Pastor Baker, you know, the best way to spot light is not to look at it, but to look away from it. To look either above it or to the side of it, but never look directly at it. Luke moves our gaze surrounded him. We see the reflection of Christ, the reflection of that little face in the hearts of those present in our lives. When you and I go to Bethlehem, we discover that real peace means being set right in all of our relationships. And it begins with being right with God. That is what we're celebrating tonight. The peace of knowing that in this incarnation, in this God come down into flesh, we have been made right with God. And only then can we be right with ourselves and right with others in our lives. We can gather around our tables for a family meal and pray this very simple prayer. This is a prayer we've been studying over Advent in this congregation. It's a prayer that perhaps all of you have heard from time to time. It is a prayer that calls forth from our hearts the truth about what is happening, the truth that God is with us and continues to come to be with us. We are right with Him in Jesus, and that alone gives us hope for peace with ourselves and with others. Our prayer goes like this: Come, Lord Jesus, be our guest, and let these gifts to us be blessed. Blessed be God who is our bread. May all the world be clothed in